entire meeting, I can say almost nothing because my mind is always on just typing or writing.
I understand that completely. Hi, Debbie and Jerry. Haven't seen you guys in about like a day.
That's true. Did
Hi, Kathy.
Kathy's, you're here, but I'm not going to ask. Sorry. Did you all get an email with an update on the agenda? I can't remember. No. Okay. So Nina from Northwest Natural should be here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and she should be here around 6:30. And she sent me
Uh-oh.
a text earlier today that said IT and I did a trial run and we got a laptop compatible with the platform because last time we had some tech issues. So they're ready to go. Kathy and I just, despite our offices being within shouting distance, just didn't communicate about changed the agenda. But I figured that would be good if she was here. She wasn't able to come last time.
Well, that means something's going to have to get either trimmed or bumped.
So the updates to the tree code, I'm not sure what to update on. I mean, that's 30 minutes that I think we could free up.
Yeah. Was the proposal that we had submitted previously, was that submitted recently again to get on the docket?
So what I had from Kim was basically just to add the tree code. The SAB would make a recommendation to add it to the docket.
Okay.
And I can do that. But I think that's where it was left with the SAB from last time, unless I'm wrong.
Yeah, I had assumed, since I missed the last couple of meetings, that our previous proposal to that effect would be resubmitted, but I guess that was incorrect.
We'll resubmit it, and
Okay, so
go through it.
there are three of us here. I was hoping Charity would show up so we'd have a quorum because Victoria and Michael will not be here and Kim will be late.
And Charity, I got a message from her this morning that I think was sent to everyone, said that she also couldn't make it, like Mike couldn't make it.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah, I got that.
Well, I obviously missed that. Okay, so we don't have a quorum until Kim shows up. So we probably can't approve and rubber stamp the minutes until then. There's no public comment. So why don't we just kick off the meeting anyway? Jerry, you ready to record? And I'll get it started and we can just check in.
It seems like we could check in and then listen to the presentation.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so let's get started with the June 16th meeting of the Westland Sustainability Advisory Board. So calling the meeting to order, we'll hold off on approving the minutes till we get a quorum. There's no public members here, so no public comments. So there are just a few of us. Greg, as far as check-ins go, Greg, you got anything to for the good of the order to report on?
I had a chance to talk to the Westland Summit that's made up of ministers and city staff and presidents of city clubs last Thursday. And so Doug Erickson had set that up, just talking about neighborhood resilience teams. So it was nice to have another chance to chat about that. And I want to follow through talking with Chief Bahuna, as well as one of the ministers who expressed a lot of interest. But I was pleased that I got an email over the weekend from a woman in Wilsonville who had I think listened to the presentation that I'd given as part of the Ed series, and she was really interested in trying to do something in her own neighborhood, and asked for more guidance. And I was able to send her the kind of workbook that had been used for mapping your neighborhood. And so she was going to organize some meetings this summer. So it was just nice to see it growing organically, which is what I had kind of hoped might happen. So that was neat to see.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, that's one program I think that really needs to be brought to the fore. So thanks, Greg, for that. Debbie, what's cooking?
I was just wondering if anyone else is having problems with their screen freezing, because I missed the first part of what Greg just said, because the whole screen froze. Is anyone else having problems, tech problems, or is it on my end somewhere?
No, nothing here. No, that's the problem with all the different, there's 6 of us, so there's 6 different internet speeds and systems and possibilities for problems. So welcome to the digital world, unfortunately. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's lucky that this is being recorded, so we can always go back.
Okay, because I might have to re-listen because I seem to be having problems with it, the screen freezing and whatnot. Anyway, so I think you guys might already know that I reached out to a couple electric bike companies to see if they'd be interested in being involved with our old time fair. So Splendid Cycles and V-Volt were not able to participate because of staffing issues. And then I think, and I haven't had a chance to reach out to C Energy yet, which I will before the fair, obviously. And then the other thing was I did end up speaking to the folks at Friends of Trees. And I don't know how much you guys know about that program. So I basically was tasked to get a little bit more information from them about their program and how the city can become involved. So it's basically involves a partnership between cities and Friends of Tree. And it usually involves cities need to have basically give a budget commitment to the program with Friends of Trees. And the amount really depends, it's variable, it depends upon the goals of the city in terms of their goals regarding the urban forests, a number of trees involved, community outreach activities, post-planting tree maintenance activities, whether it would be focused on neighborhood-based program or focused on public natural green spaces. A lot of cities will do just one or the other. Some cities will involve both of those programs. And when I spoke to Whitney, just to kind of give us a ballpark, amount. Again, like I said, it's really variable depending upon the city's goals. She mentioned anywhere from 25 to 50 grand type of thing. But they usually will have plantings about once to twice a year in the rainy season from October to April. They will usually visit the site, the newly planted trees a couple times during the summer months just to make sure the trees are doing okay. And they do have a high survival rate. I think she said 97% first year, 80% 3 years. See what else can. So they deal with all the logistics of organizing the plantings, of getting the trees, of involving community outreach. They have their own volunteer network. They're involved, like I said, on post-planting tree maintenance stuff, like helping with mulching, pruning. Let's see. What else can I tell you? Do you guys have other questions? I did ask if, and they're really, really busy, and it was really hard for me to get a hold of them. And in fact, the woman that I spoke to, Whitney, who is the deputy director, it was her last day. She was leaving. But they can maybe have somebody come and speak to us during one of our meetings if we're really leaning towards going in that direction. So what are you guys' thoughts? Any questions?
Okay, since we are moving the item 6, the update on tree preservation codes, we're kind of deleting that today because of Northwest Natural's presentation. Maybe we could move that discussion to the next meeting and devote some time to it along with the tree code.
And I can jump in briefly as well. I did have a chance to talk to Natalie Rogers, and she'll be able to join us for our September meeting, which would be an opportunity to learn more about how they're dealing with tree canopy in Milwaukee as well.
Okay, so, well, we could pencil that in for September agenda item. Okay, so how about what Debbie's been working on with the tree to fold that into a discussion in next meeting with the tree preservation code update and all of our CDC request.
The thing I would be interested in with the Friends of Trees too is how, I mean, we're in a very unusual circumstance, how it could work with the city, because that's been a big issue of how to replace some of the trees that were lost. So I don't know if there's a conversation, maybe Jerry, before we table this subject for a month or two, because Friends of Trees could be a really great resource for doing that. But it's, you know, especially for Debbie saying that they're hard to get a hold of. You know, we want to make sure the conversation happens sooner rather than later.
Yeah, well, personally, you know, rather than speak to someone who's going to charge us 25 grand to join their organization just to plant trees, I think there's a great resource of humans in West Linn that maybe could get together and get donated trees and plant them in events. So I would really like to see that explored first to get the community involved rather than just outright hire somebody like West Linn always does, is hires consultants.
Well, I think that Friends of Trees, because a lot of the labor is done by volunteers because they have this network of volunteers, which can also include West Linn citizens. So the cost is I have no idea what cost of tree programs are, but just based on that, their utilization of volunteers, it seems like it would be less. And the other thing, from what I understand, and of course, you know, this is a budget issue too, but from what I understand, you know, we are designated as a tree city through the Arbor Day Foundation. And one of the requirements for that designation is that we do have.
Lost Debbie. Yeah, okay.
So cruel.
It is. Yeah, well, maybe it's Debbie's internet connection because she had problems.
Budget for that. Is that right,
Debbie,
Jerry?
Debbie?
Yes.
Yeah, we lost you for a full, almost a minute there, so we don't know what you said. So you must have a funky internet connection there. So.
Yeah. Well, let me just repeat real quickly. So, given that we're designated as a tree city by the Arbor Day Foundation, there is a requirement that we have a community urban forestry program with an annual budget of at least $2 per capita. So, given that West Linn's population is about 27,000, that means that we should have a budget of 54,000 that's designated for our urban forest. And I don't know how that's being used right now, and maybe
okay. Yeah. Once again, since we've got other things to discuss,
okay,
can we defer this to the next meeting and fold this into the discussion of trees generally? Because obviously we've got other things to discuss here. All right. Okay. Unless there's disagreement. Hello? You want it to the next meeting?
Yeah,
okay,
it might be nice if Jerry could let us know whether there is any money, in fact, budgeted for trees in the city budget, like for the next meeting.
I would just propose that we have a long discussion about trees. There's a number of complications. It's going to be potentially a couple thousand trees, stump grinding, irrigation, a coordinated effort for this. And there's a lot there. Yeah.
So shall we finish up with check-ins then?
Sure.
Kim, we're checking in still.
Hello from my mobile office. You know, this quickly this morning I was on the Alex Mim with Clackamas County did a presentation with the Chamber of Commerce and talked about the benefits of becoming sustainable certified at work. So it was really great. Jerry did a great job, and it really highlighted how we are demonstrating that leadership, from how long it's been on simmer to get, a couple city buildings certified, to how Jerry worked with Alex to get it across the finish line, and talking about how significant that was, and all the groundwork we're doing as the Sustainability Advisory Board, the green power, which we had talked about earlier in the year and last year, that was years in the making and recommendations. So having council adopt our sustainability goals, this is the proof in the pudding. These things are paying off for the city, because it's saving us money in certain areas, and it's giving us recognition for really good practices. So that was kind of exciting. I'm like, Jerry, you didn't say much, but you're like, I got my thing, and you hit a home run very nicely there. And then Alex also did a recycling, for some of you were there for the sustainability event, and that was really eye-opening. It hurts, because waste hurts me, and recycling is important, and knowing that the big issue is keeping our global temperature down, and making those big reaches. So I think of all the things I pay attention to, I'm really encouraged by the work we're able to do as a group for this city, because I think you can make change a lot quicker at a local level than at a county level. So even though we're going to be looking at adopting the county's sustainability climate action plan, we're kind of ahead of them in some of those practices. So thank you all, and carry on.
Okay. Jerry, any check-in items?
I'll go last. Thank you.
Okay. Mary, I see your name. Are you there?
She had texted me that she might have.
Can you
Okay.
hear me?
We can hear you. Yeah.
Oh, okay. 'Cause
Can't see you.
I
Can
don't
hear you.
know. I thought I didn't have like panelist access. It looks weird to me. I don't really have any check-ins per se, but I'm here listening to y'all.
Okay. So you'll be the interloper, huh?
Well, I don't know. Can you see
Can't
me?
see you. Can hear you.
No, yeah. Oh, wait.
Now
there
we
I
can
am.
see you. Okay. A little
All
parallax.
right. Technology.
Good.
Sorry.
Okay. So my check-in is that I'm checking out. This will be my last meeting as co-chair of the SAB, and I will serve the rest of my term until December, and then I will step down from the SAB after over 5 years of service. So it's been great. So I will hang around. And after that, I will probably attend meetings as a guest. So that's the story there. I would like, considering that, at the end, I'd like to add an item which would be a discussion of whether the group wants to continue with co-chairs, and if so, to nominate a new co-chair. And so if we could add that to the end, I would appreciate it. Any objections? Great, hearing none. Let's move on. The Old Time Fair is on. We will have a booth on July 16th all day. So Debbie is working on to see if we can get a e-bike vendor there. If you wish, I can send you a map of the layout. We have the same booth area, and Mary was there last time, and Kim were there last time. I think 2019 is when we were last there. It's the same booth area, so we're right at the end. Booth number 32, it's up on the flat grassy area near the fun center, but it's like got a lot of grass. So if we get a vendor, we'll have plenty of room to display their wares. If not, we got space to breathe. But we do need to take care of the logistics of our booth. And I can send you a graphic of the layout so you can see where we are if you wish. So here are the things that we need. We need a canopy. I don't know if anybody's got a canopy. We'll need tables, the folding tables, 2 or 3 possibly. If we decide to have covers, we need table covers. Whatever kind of information, brochures, we will need to decide on that. And if so, where are they coming from and who's going to get them? And then we will need to have a schedule set up for who is going to occupy the booth. The booth cannot be unoccupied. The fair starts at 11, goes to 10 p.m., but we can decide when we want to fold up our tent and leave. If we do get a vendor to work with us, such as an e-bike vendor, I've got one parking permit here that's good for someone, and I would imagine if we have a vendor, we would probably give them the parking permit so they could haul their wares up. If we don't have a vendor to work with us, then whoever's hauling tables or canopies or whatever can use that parking permit. But in the meantime, questions are, does anybody have a canopy? Nobody has a canopy. Okay, well, that means Mary.
I was just going to say, I did provide that, and I borrowed it from a student who was holding it for the Ultimate Frisbee team. So it may be that it's still sitting in someone's garage. So I can ask. It was a nice big canopy.
It was a nice canopy.
So I'll look into that, but no promises. It could be dead.
Can the city do this? I don't even know if we can't. The city just provide one? Or is that?
They didn't provide one last time. I
Oh,
don't know if
I'll
they
find out. I don't know why we couldn't, but I don't know.
Yeah. Well, Jerry, while you're doing, I don't know, does anybody else? I think, Mary, we had about 3 tables there. Do you know where they came from?
That's a good question. I feel like I might have brought one, but I borrowed it. I don't own one. I could probably scrounge around and find at least one.
Yeah. Jerry, I was wondering if maybe we could possibly borrow a couple tables. I don't know, maybe from the community center or something, or would be.
Yeah, I mean, this is you're there on behalf of the city, so I'll see what I can figure out for this.
Okay, good. Table covers. I don't know. Mary, did we have a sign for the SAB, a table covering or something, or am I just smoking my shorts here?
I don't remember, honestly. I might have a photo. Did anybody take a picture of our booth?
Well, I probably did. I'd have to look in my archives of 72,000.
Yeah, me too. So,
okay, well, that's gravy, so that's no biggie.
yeah.
Brochures, we don't have to firm down everything right now, but I think we should probably get some things pinned down in the next week or so, because it is in July. Brochures, be thinking about what kind of brochures, if any, you would like to display, and if we don't have them, maybe we can get them from Clackamas County Sustainability Office. I mean, we don't want to have a lot of paperwork out there, but maybe a few good ones. I know Clackamas County Master Recyclers they got some good brochures.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. Given some of the topics that have come up in our Ed series, having something about water conservation, having something about community gardens, maybe something about reducing carbon emissions.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was just searching around this morning, I don't know whether we can have a computer there, but there's a Nature Conservancy site where you can actually figure out your carbon footprint.
Mm-hmm.
So it seemed like that might be a useful activity to have potentially if people wanted to try to determine their carbon footprint.
Yeah. Okay. Those are good ideas. See, it's, I don't know. Is that, I think the fair is, as far as our next meeting, yeah, the fair is before our next meeting. So we've got to get things firmed up right away. So, as far as brochures, today's Thursday, I would think by early next week, we should probably decide amongst the group, and Greg has some good ideas there, as to what brochures we'd like to have. We don't want to inundate people, but I think some select ones on different topics would be good. So Mary.
I did just find a picture of the canopy with a beautiful banner signage that the city must have made. So I'll send it out to y'all as soon as I can figure out my phone. But I don't think we had brochures like made by us. A bunch of us went and collected up materials. Like, I know I'm blanking on her name, but she worked on the backyard bird certification, backyard habitat.
Susie Peterson?
Somebody brought information about backyard bird habitat or certification information. I went to the Clackamas County Soil and Water Conservation District and got a bunch of things to hand out from them. So I mean, we collected up information that's about sustainability, but it wasn't a flyer generated by us.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
That's
we didn't have anything by us. Okay, I think we got some good ideas here. So Greg is obviously taking copious notes. How about if
Can Kim take notes too?
Kim can start taking notes also? So we'll have stereo notes here. So how about if today's Thursday, how about by Monday, if one of you could send out just the bulleted ideas of what brochures to pick up, and maybe each of us could decide who's going to pick up brochures and just get those taken care of right away. It's better to have more information than not enough. Something on different topics. I think that would be good. Okay.
And if we find stuff online that, like just a single page, for example, about cutting carbon emissions, would the city have a budget to like make 25, 30, 50 copies?
Yeah. Sounds good.
This is not working.
Well, will there be a budget? Like, could that be done? If Jerry could say.
Yeah.
It's just a few copies, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't think
Only
it'd be,
talking a couple of bucks probably.
yeah, that'd be fine.
Okay.
Okay, good. Good. So by next Monday, we'll know what topics we're going to look at and maybe who can pick up brochures where or ask. Does that sound reasonable? Okay, very good. So Jerry's going to check on tables. Mary's going to check on a canopy and let us know if it's available. If not, also with the canopy, we're required to have weights at every corner, like 5-gallon buckets full of water or cement or Guido's enemies or something like that. I don't know. So that's what we need. And we need to know who's going to be there. So would someone like to volunteer to just make a tabling schedule and ask people when they can be there?
See, I think in the minutes we have like who said that they would be able to be there the last meeting. So I know Kim, you said you'd be able to be there. I think I said I'd be there. You'll be there. Mike will be there. Debbie, were you going to be able to be there? I remember Charity was not going to be able to be there, right?
Okay.
And no, I won't be able to be.
Well, that's 4 of us already who are going to be there. So between the 4 of us, we should be able to parse out the day. Huh?
Okay, and I won't be able to be there until after 2 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
So I can help with the taking it down, but not the setup.
Well, I can help in the morning with the setup, so that's no big deal. Let's probably stay for a few hours.
Okay.
Okay, well, that's probably a done deal then. No worries. Okay. Any other things we need to discuss about the fair? Okay, so Mary, if
I guess I got a question. Would it make sense for us to touch base a week or so before, just to see like where everything stands and make sure that that we're ready to go, and we could do it online,
yeah,
just set up our own Zoom meeting rather than. Well, do we have to go through the city for something like that, or could we just meet?
no, we've got everything we need from the city. They know where we are, what we're doing.
Okay.
All we need to do. So that's why I'm thinking if Mary can report back by early next week about the canopy situation, and Jerry can get back to us early next week about the table situation. If we've got table covers and a sign, that's fine. If not, I don't know that we need to worry about it. Brochures, if we could get that list by Monday, so that we can pick out which ones we want to pick up. I can go to the county and get some if need be. That should all happen early next week. It should be a done deal, and then we can communicate to the group what is done and what needs to be done.
Okay.
And Debbie, you'll probably get some information about if any e-bike vendor can be there or not. So if we can find this information out early, know what we've got, who can be there, who can't, then we're ready to go. The canopy is probably a big one. Be nice to have shade. So,
And if Mary is unable to find one, are there canopies that are available to rent?
oh, I would imagine, sure, you could probably rent one, any of the rental places, yeah.
Gary mentioned he was going to check with the city though if they had canopies and tables
Yeah,
there, so
good.
they're up
Right.
there. And if Parks happens to be down there with the canopy and some tables while they're setting up,
Good. Okay. So anything else regarding the fair we need to discuss right now? We should be clear on several items early next week so that we can move forward and get the information out to everybody so they're on board. Anything else for the good of the fair? All right. Very good. Well, since the tree code discussion is deferred until next week and we've inserted the Northwest Natural presentation, is it Nina or Nina? I can't, you're muted. You're muted. You're still muted. You're muted.
Can you hear me okay now?
Now we can, yeah. Now we can. Can't hear you. Can't hear you. Nope. Can't hear you. Nope. 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 Welcome to WebEx hell.
Oh no, that did it.
Yeah.
WebEx was a little bitter. Oh well. 2 weeks running, looks like we lost her, huh?
We don't have Nina?
She's still on. Maybe she's trying to figure it out.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, well, we're gonna just go, we'll do it from the phone. How's that work? The voice is okay?
Oh, now we can see you.
Okay, well,
Right.
I think we've got it. Jerry, do you want to go ahead and share the presentation and then we'll kind of take it from there?
Sure, just give me a second to find it.
Sure. Well, thank you guys for having me today. What I'm going to be kind of sharing with you is basically our company's vision for what our utility and what our energy mix and how we deliver it to our communities between now and 2050. And kind of the nexus how this was created is about 5 years ago, the company was doing some strategic planning. And we realized that climate change was probably the biggest issue facing our region and our company. And we had to address how we wanted to face that. And basically, we came to the conclusion that we need to stop arguing about climate change, that climate change is really a thing, and we have an imperative to address it. And in doing that, we kind of looked at some, kind of what the energy that we were providing for our community and how we could move to a more sustainable model. And basically that's where our Destination Zero or our Vision 2050 came about. And it basically is the pathway in which that we intend to become carbon neutral by 2050. So you can continue to use the energy that you are using in your home today, but we're drastically lowering the carbon intensity and basically the carbon footprint of what our customers use. And Jerry, if you can, when you get it up, that's great. Fortunately, I've done this presentation about 9 million times, so I can do it without the slides if necessary. But we like to kind of start grounding our folks before I go into the particulars about this is who is Northwest Natural, what do we do? So we are a local distribution company. We provide gas services to about 50% of the population in Oregon, about 2.5 million people, almost 775,000 customers. And we'll go, Jerry, we'll go to the next slide if we could, please. So basically on any given day, our company would be delivering about 75% of the space and water heat in our region for residential square footage. But our energy system is not built for average use. We have to be able to perform at peak at any time. And on that really cold winter morning when the sun isn't shining and the wind isn't blowing, our company would be maybe delivering up to about 90% of the energy needs for residential space and water heating in our region. And one of the things that we're probably most proud about is we have one of the tightest, newest systems in the country. We finished in the late 90s replacing all of our bare steel and cast iron, which really reduces any fugitive emissions that we have. And because of all of these, our modern system and basically how we source our gas, our residential and commercial customers, for all of the energy that we're providing, contribute to about 6% of Oregon's complete greenhouse gas emissions. And you can see transportation, while it's 36, it really probably should be closer to 40 now. The electricity sector is going down a little bit, but we feel like that's a pretty big bang for your buck. 6% of emissions for between 74 and 90% of the energy that we provide in this region. We'll go to the next slide. But we aren't going to rest on our laurels with that. And by that, I mean, we know that we need to continue to decarbonize. And as we've seen on the electric side, when it is important to reduce emissions quickly, but with an eye to processes that don't affect affordability too much and really do not affect reliability at all, because people count on their energy. They want to turn on their furnace and have it work. They want to turn on the shower and they expect hot water. So on the electric side, when the cleaning of that grid has been occurring, people didn't tear down the old wires and put up new ones. They simply changed what was going across those wires. And that's basically what we are doing. We are doing, including new sources of gas that are much less carbon intense, including renewable natural gas, which we'll talk about more in detail, and hydrogen. So we will be delivering gas through our pipelines, but it will be a lower intensity and a different mix. And the key thing is we will be doing this in a manner that still keeps our prices affordable. Folks are paying, even with inflation and some of the price increases, they're paying about what they paid 10 to 12 years ago for gas today. And just so you know, Northwest Natural is committed to pursuing 100% neutral carbon pipeline, and we know there are no technical barriers to get there. Oh, go to the next slide, please. So this is kind of a, I really like this slide because it shows all the different ways that the energy, both the electric grid and the gas grid are interconnected, and how we're going to have, and are even today, adding new sources of gas to the system. You see here a city, and the first thing that we like to start with our customers is really deep energy efficiency. And the reason it is it works so well for us to work with our customers and our builders and our HVAC providers is we're one of the first gas utilities to become decoupled. And what basically that means is we sell gas at a commodity price. That is not where the company makes a profit. So it allows us to help our customers use as little as possible, because the thing that we are basing this on is we don't have to offset or decarbonize a molecule we don't use. So it starts with deep energy efficiency. And while we still will be providing some conventional gas from out of the ground, we will be also injecting renewable natural gas. And basically what that is anything that has carbon in it, as it decays, it releases methane. And that methane goes up into the air, and methane is a more potent greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide. So it's important to keep methane in the pipe and burning it at your burner tip at a 90% efficiency than it is to let it off gas 24/7 into the atmosphere. So we're aggregating those methane producing products such as food waste, landfills, dairy gas, from like dairy manure or animal manure lagoons, places like that, wastewater treatment plants, aggregating that, capturing that gas, cleaning it to pipeline quality standards, and then injecting that into our system again. And that way people can, if you're doing that, it really reduces the current carbon intensity of what we're providing. And so you're going to see kind of more of a grid that has some injection sites from farms, from your wastewater treatment plants. We will also be talking about hydrogen a little bit, which we will be storing. We can use that in aviation. We can use that in marine applications. And that can be created by excess renewable electricity, which we'll talk about in a minute. So if you could go to the next slide. And if you guys have questions throughout this, feel free to stop me, just shout out. If I use an acronym or if there's something that needs to be explained, you just let me know. But this talks a little bit about the ideas of renewable natural gas. And a lot of people say, oh, that renewable natural gas isn't that nice. That's a little bit of a niche item that it's not enough to matter. Well, in 2017, the Oregon Department of Energy did a study to determine the technical potential, basically how much renewable natural gas is there in our state in any given year. And they determined that there'd be about 48 billion cubic feet of renewable natural gas in any given year. Our customers use about 50 billion cubic feet. And so really that shows us that there is a lot of renewable natural gas out there that we can capture and use on our pipeline. And it's interchangeable. It's a methane molecule, just like what we're delivering today. But that was an encouraging thing, showing that, yes, there is enough to matter. Now, are we going to get all 48 billion cubic feet? No, some of it would be too expensive or too difficult to collect. But it did show that really focusing on these projects, we have one in Eugene right now. We're hopefully going to bring one on in Washington County. By the end of the year, already we will have between 2 and 3% of what we're providing our customers will be renewable. And Jerry, if you wouldn't mind going on to the next slide.
Hey, Nina, I've got a quick question.
Yes, sure.
When the renewable natural gas is burned, isn't it still releasing carbon into the atmosphere?
Yes, but it's releasing CO2. And the idea is a methane molecule off-gassing into the air has a global warming potential up to 25 times what a molecule of carbon dioxide has. So if you're collecting something that would otherwise just be being off-gas, going up into the air, or in wastewater treatment plants, what they typically had done in the past is they have that methane and they just burn it to no point.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does make sense.
So
The carbon
instead of having them flare it,
less.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
Carbon is going in. So less carbon is going to the atmosphere than would be the case
exactly.
if being released. Okay.
Exactly. And the key thing is this is creating a market. Basically, a dairy farmer is now able to sell us the RNG from his dairy farm instead of having a waste problem. He now can take that waste and make a product that has it's a commodity that's purchasable on a market, which allows more aggregation and more of these kind of what we call a biodigester. That's what we put there to do the work of converting that of collecting it and converting it into a product we can use. So it's creating a market. And one thing I like about this, it is one way that folks in more rural portions of our state or our region are able to participate in the green energy economy besides just hosting wind farms and solar farms. So that's a pretty cool thing. Currently, we have the 3 projects here in Oregon. we're able to procure the RNG from many different places around the United States. And the key thing is this kind of shows you the arc of our narrative. We're hoping to have up to 30% RNG by 2045. And we're hoping, so basically with the reduction in the amount of energy people are using, a house today uses, like, I want to say about 1/3 what it did in 1990 because of increased codes, more energy efficiency. With that, the decrease in the amount of energy people will be needing per capita, the increased RNG, and then we'll talk about hydrogen next. We will really be getting down to almost some carbon negative or basically we'll be carbon negative in some places. So we'll go, one thing that's also pretty cool about this is we have been working with the legislature and our Public Utility Commission because as a regulated utility, we have a regulatory obligation to purchase the least expensive gas that we can. Well, at this point in time, renewable natural gas is not that. So we worked with the legislature and got a bill passed, and it was named Senate Bill 98, first of its kind in the nation, which allows us to be able to purchase this renewable natural gas on behalf of our customers. And over time, it allows us to purchase larger quantities of it. And we will, by the end of the year, have sales agreements totaling about 3% of our throughput or what we sell every year. And that's in less than like a 4 or 5 year period. And when you look at that in relation to like wind or solar, which are both at about 11% nationally, that's pretty quick movement. And that's the wind and solar part, that's been going on for decades. So we're really leaning into this, and this isn't a flash in the pan. This is something that is going to be the wave of the future. We just happen to be one of the first companies really getting on board with it. So we'll go to the next one, please. Actually, yeah, up just one more. So this is probably the other really exciting thing. You know, the thing that's kind of challenging for the electric side is the renewables that they have on their system. The grid can only hold so much electric energy at one time. So unfortunately, a lot of the renewable electricity is generated, you know, now when the sun is shining, the wind is blowing, you know, snow is melting, turbines are running, but a lot of times the grid can't handle as much as that is being produced. And so they have to idle or basically idle or de-energize panels. And battery storage right now is good for maybe, it's good for hours, maybe a day. What we're able to do with renewable hydrogen is basically you take that excess electricity that can't go on the grid because there's no room for it, and you run it through a water bath, and you do hydrolysis, which basically splits water molecule. You off-gas the oxygen, and you take the hydrogen, and then you can store it on our pipe. And I think you might remember I talked about us having a really modern system with the poly, which is the yellow plastic pipe. It really is conducive to being able to hold that kind of, those really tiny electrons. And so the cool thing is we have our Sherwood Resource Center has a thing we call Training Town, and it's tiny little houses with actual equipment in there and all the regulators and all the different valves and things, just like our system around the region. And we're right now piloting how much of a blend of this hydrogen we can put on our system, what it does to our system. Are we going to have to do different maintenance schedules? Does it do anything to people's inline equipment? So this is the thing we know from learnings from our friends in Europe who are probably about 10 to 15 years ahead of us. They've been able to increase the blend to about 20% on their system. So you've got conventional natural gas, you've got renewable natural gas, and then you can get up to 20% hydrogen. And the key thing about our system is, you know, you can get that renewable electricity in the spring and hold it on our system and then use it come fall or winter when you need it. So any questions on that? not, we'll press on. So basically, this is kind of the theory. We're not here to argue about climate change. We're embracing the change that's needed. And we know that the electric system and the gas system both have to get cleaner together, and we should leverage both systems that our customers have already paid for to be able to embrace these new technologies and integrate them into our system. And we are committed to achieving carbon neutrality by 2050. And you maybe have heard on the news that, oh, there are natural gas bans in parts of the country. Well, I can honestly say that where we live today, there is no such thing as banning natural gas in the near future. Oh, you can stop new construction from allowing it to be directly used in homes at 90% efficiency, but the biggest consumer of our product in our state is actually the electric company. And they are going to have those gas peaker plants for a good long time, because renewables, while fantastic and necessary, are not reliable, and they can't provide all the energy that's needed all the time. And so they're going to be continually using gas for a good long time. But unfortunately, they're using it at somewhere between 38 and 42% efficiency, instead of us delivering it to your home, where we can use it in the 90% efficiency. And the key thing is reliability is very important part of the solution. You all lost power a year or two ago, and we had many customers who wrote in and said, hey, because I had certain kinds of equipment, I was able to heat, cook, I was able to use my gas stove, and I was able to have my gas fireplace working. And that was really a great thing for them. So the key thing is, in certain kinds of power or certain kinds of natural disasters, really having two sets of energy systems really maintains reliability. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. That's a lot of information I threw out at you, but I'm happy to take questions if you wish.
I have two questions. This is
Sure.
Kim. First question, or just more of a clarification. In your pipeline infrastructure, you can just swap and easily switch between RNG and the regular natural gas. So that's a seamless thing, correct?
They're the same molecule.
Right. Okay.
It's just where do you get it from?
And then the hydrogen, you're not sending through the pipeline. You have that localized for backup for peak loads, correct?
No, we would be actually mixing it in. So you would have up to 20% hydrogen at any given time. There would be potentially applications where a high industrial user, we might put an electrolyzer right in a industrial park and potentially supply those industries with just pure hydrogen, but that would be a separate pipe system, and that would be for very specific applications. But the idea is for us to blend hydrogen in the gas that we're providing to all of our whole territory.
Thank you, because it's brilliant, because the infrastructure is already there, so you don't have to put new.
Right, it's paid for, it's modern, and it can do this work. We're seeing it being done right now in Europe.
Okay, and then the second question on the transportation side is, I remember, kind of recently, TriMet was talking about trying to get hydrogen buses, and from that aspect, fueling and storage was difficult. So are you working with TriMet, or is that somebody else's wheelhouse? No,
that would be us, because it would be us if they're using our system to move the hydrogen. And it's probably something that we're going to work in partnership. And that's kind of the key thing that we need people to see is the transportation companies, the electricity companies, the gas company. We all need to be working together, and we need to be looking at decarbonization and energy across the whole value chain and across holistically, because doing one thing affects other places, and we're much more efficient, effective, and affordable if we're collaborating and coordinating these kinds of things instead of everybody trying to do their own thing.
So I've got a question.
Sure.
With regard to well, two questions. First, who will be responsible for paying for the digesters for municipalities and farmers?
Well, and that is the sort of thing that that's where I talk about renewable natural gas will not be at this point as affordable because those electrolyzers are still expensive and these biodigesters are still expensive. But we, part of this Senate bill comes source for X time. We sign contracts to offtake the RNG that's produced.
Uh-huh. So you're really dependent upon municipalities and folks in agriculture producing the renewable natural gas, largely at their own expense.
Well, I would say it's a utility business is a pretty secure business. I mean, we have a duty to serve, and we are very cautious on how we make investments, and because we know that the penalties for not being able to live up to what we're expected to be able to do are pretty serious. So we make a pretty good investment partner for folks. And there are this stuff is occurring, the RNG is occurring because we all eat and go to the bathroom, and there's animals that go to the bathroom, and that stuff's going to be there. It's just now there's a market for it. So it's taking what was once a problem and turning it into a revenue stream. But yeah, I mean, that's where a lot of this stuff comes from. It's the landfills, it's the wastewater treatment plants, it's farms, that kind of thing. Yes.
No, exactly. I'm just thinking about the amount of money that would have to be borrowed by both cities and farmers to be able to invest in the new equipment needed to actually create the renewable natural gas. And so just wondering, are you working with banks to make loans available for people to actually engage in these activities?
Well, when we first started talking about this, there were 113 renewable natural gas projects across the United States, and I want to say now we're nearly 500. So they have figured out how to make this work. And really, it's not municipalities so much because the city, you in order to have these things be at scale, they have to be fairly large. So it's probably not one farmer doing this. It would be an aggregation of farmers. Maybe they're pumping their manure somewhere, or they're trucking it to a central point where they have the biodigester. There's different applications, but the idea would be it's mainly your bigger wastewater treatment plants or your bigger landfills that are doing this. Admittedly, this will probably come down as the market develops. The price for these biodigesters will probably come down, and smaller applications will be able to pencil out more easily. But really, this is a larger scale kind of a thing. It's not so much a city of West Linn doing, having their own biodigester, because there's just not enough of the feedstock to create the RNG.
Okay. And my second question is, would it be fair to say that Northwest Natural Gas is not so much talking about decarbonization as reduced carbonization?
Well, I mean, here's the other thing. We have a smart energy program where you can buy offsets, which basically it would be a little bit surplus on your bill. That money is aggregated and does climate projects that either increase carbon dioxide absorption, planting trees, or it reduces, it would buy scrubbers to put on, it would be a fund that an industrial company could buy to put scrubbers on their smokestacks so that carbon dioxide isn't released into the air. So if you're doing those things with offsets and RNG, you can actually become a carbon negative. Mm-hmm. Carbon accounting is really kind of it isn't a straightforward thing. Yes, you're burning something, but you released 2 molecules of carbon dioxide, but with your offset, you saved 5 molecules of carbon dioxide from even being created, and your RNG is only 40% as carbon intense as it once was. So that doing the same thing you are doing today that you did 2 years ago, you could be actually carbon negative. It's kind of crazy, but that's how these things are traded. Very similar to how renewable electricity energy credits are traded.
Yeah. Thank you.
A question about hydrogen. You said that if you used hydrogen or generated hydrogen, it would be mixed in with the natural gas and RNG. Okay, hydrogen burns a lot hotter. Would that mean that people would have to have adapters on their appliances, such as propane versus natural gas?
Well, with our system, that's why I mentioned the training town thing. We are basically testing this out with all sorts of different equipment. You could mix this, technically a pipe could hold 60% hydrogen and 40% methane, but we know that after 20%, there is a reduced functionality of some pieces of equipment, and that's why we're really piloting this and checking it out on our enclosed kind of system. So I think we're blending around 5 to 10% right now. We will get it up to 20%, but we want to make sure that what we're providing doesn't damage our customers' end-use equipment. But the idea would be that we would be providing you the same level of energy, and it would work seamlessly with your current appliances.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So any other questions for Nina before we move on?
Well, I appreciate your guys' time today, and I did want to say I'm happy to send Jerry some of our smart energy brochures for your sustainability booth if you guys are interested in having, showing people that that's an option that they can do right now today, and Jerry won't have to print them.
Sounds good. Great.
So thank you.
Well, I appreciate your time very much tonight, and if you guys have more questions or want to have an update in maybe another year, y'all know how to get a hold of me.
Great.
Okay, great. Well,
all right. Thank you so much. You have a good evening.
Thanks for taking the time. Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay, folks. Any comments or questions on that presentation before we move on? Okay, hearing nothing. Item 7, compostables in yard debris bins. I obviously wasn't at previous meeting in which I think a representative from our refuse hauler, I think his name was Jason, did a presentation.
Yes.
Yeah, Jason. After reading Jared.
Oh, I traded emails with Westland Refuse. They ran some numbers on composting, and the preliminary estimate was about $4 per month increase for all residential customers to cover the additional cost for the service. And then they wrote something that I haven't had a chance to follow up on, noting that disposal fees would increase significantly, as well as an increase in time to dump at Metro South transfer station, including compost increases the set-out rate in the off-season months, adding labor costs. They added that they're more than happy to make a formal proposal if the city desires, but I just wanted to check in with this group.
Question on the restaurant side, which is related, but when we had to talk about sustainability at work this morning, Jerry, Alex had mentioned the new requirement for composting food, organics at restaurants, because we're trying to not have methane off gas. The big goal is to keep organics out of landfills. So what does that look like for the city? Because if they're offering that for restaurants, I mean, it'd be a big impact for residential to be able to have this composting. I'm very interested in what that looks like on the business side, if it's going to be required soon.
I have no idea, but I can give you his name and number and connect you.
And Debbie may be able to help me with this, but my recollection from Jason's presentation was that mixing the food waste with yard debris is not necessarily a particularly good way to deal with the methane created by the food waste. Did I misunderstand?
You're muted, Debbie.
I know that when I had spoken to actually Alex Min, he was saying that it was not the most effective way to deal with organic food waste. It's best when it's kept separate, because then you can use it as a source of renewable energy, and I think it has to do with the methane.
Right.
But I know that what Jason said is that it is going to be combined, so that means that they're not going to be able to use it in that way.
Yeah. So I guess my sense is that the proposal that the Westland Refuse Company is making with regard to getting the compostable food, mixing it with yard debris, is not going to really be addressing the issue that we're concerned about.
I don't know, but if the group wants to sort of nominate someone to get in touch, I can facilitate that.
Yeah, my question would be, doing a little reading. I know Recology out in North Plains, they accept ground up yard debris and compostables together and to generate compost. But I also know that there are anaerobic digesters that are used for compostable materials that does capture the methane. So I'd be interested to know exactly where the Portland, Lake Oswego, Milwaukee materials are being taken and what process is being used to convert that material to actual compost and what type of methane capture is being used. So there's some information that I don't know that would be interesting to find out. But I do feel that Westlands should pursue this. I think it's a viable avenue to work on. So I know that any hauler is not going to want to go out on a limb because they're in the business to make money. So it's kind of a sticky issue. If somebody's going to pay more money a month for their garbage collection, they're probably not for it. So I guess we need more information. So, anybody want to care to volunteer to pursue this subject? And if so, who wants to gather some other information?
Well, I know that Debbie has spoken with a person in Lake Oswego who seems to be more knowledgeable about the way in which their process of picking up food waste operates. And I would be happy to go speak with that person as well, Debbie, if you wanted to. We wouldn't necessarily have to invite them to a meeting, but if we were able to glean some useful information, maybe we could then think about inviting them to a meeting.
I think that Amanda would be able to answer more the logistical questions, like exactly what do they do. But as far as questions about end product use, methane capture versus end product just being the soil amendment, the compost stuff.
Yeah.
She may not be able to answer those kind of questions. But I do feel that Alex Milne would be able to, because he's the one that educated me about stuff like that, because I really didn't have a whole lot of knowledge about those things at all. So I mean, certainly I would be happy to help with somebody else. I need somebody else also to work with me to get more additional information, because I don't know all the right questions to ask.
I'll help you, Deb, because we've been going at this for a long time. And just in the last 2 days, because Alex dealing with solid waste as well, is the more information I get, the more questions I have. Because
right, exactly.
Especially on the business side, if there's a new requirement, like where it's not optional anymore, where restaurants have to compost their food waste, because food waste is huge in landfills. Well, if that's happening, somebody's servicing that, and it should.
And actually, Amanda told me that Metro is coming out with a mandate for all commercial, like grocery stores and schools. They all have to compost now. So it seems like, based on economies of scale, somehow this should not be quite as expensive.
Yeah, I'd be happy to contact Portland/Metro to get some details about their process and how this is handled. I mean, you know, they've got the program running, so obviously they know some stuff about where it goes, how much methane is generated or not. So I'll question Portland, get the
Good.
information.
So maybe Terry, Kim, and I can gather more information then.
Sounds good.
And then if other members of the board have additional questions they want to have us, you know, get the answers to, they can just email us.
And I think as I'm hearing just these different aspects, let's just say from a simplistic level, you know, Jerry just said, okay, it's $4 a household. Let's just say it was that. How do you explain that value to people and what they're getting for it? And then understanding the end use, because we were hearing all these different things. I mean, when Alex was talking about yard waste versus food waste, then when he got into these whatever degradable plastics, they can't be in with the food because they break down at a different temperature. And just, you know, as some solutions come along, they make things worse. So I think there's a lot of moving parts in this where companies are trying to make solutions that make things more complex. You know, I mean, things we can't I mean, this disposable, what do you call that? Compostable, like dinnerware. You can't put that in your backyard. You can't put the cups in your backyard. So what's going in there? What's the economy of scale? But I'm interested in, okay, this product has to be at this temperature. This has to be here.
Yeah.
You know, we need more information.
Yeah.
Also, I kind of would like to, and maybe Jerry, you would have been able to answer questions on this, is exactly that $4. Exactly how did they come up with that figure? Because I know that given just the dumping fees at landfills is much higher supposedly than if they were to take it to a composting site. Because I read information on that, and I think like Portland, there was like a 30% difference in that fee. So is that being passed along to to citizens, or is that going to just increase their profit margin?
Well, it's interesting that that now we're hearing $4, and in the previous meeting Jason spoke, it was $2.50.
Yeah, and that's around the $2 range is what I hear from other entities like Oswego, as well as my family members in California, where they have the curbside composting, and that's more, the figure is the same, closer to that amount versus $4. So I just would like to know, how they came up with this $4 figure exactly.
Okay, should the three of us then, do our individual research and then report back at the next meeting on this topic?
I just want to say that my time might be a little bit limited in before the next meeting. So, and it sounds like it's going to be kind of time consuming. Is the only thing I want
You
to
devote
maybe like in a couple of meetings, like
devote the amount of time to it that you've got. So, as I always say, every project expands to fit the time allotted to it. So
How about the three of us, start the conversations with the people that we're reaching out to and share that with each other before the next meeting, so we have something cohesive. Or
sounds good.
you just said, Terry, said it
I like it. We'll do it. Okay. Any other ideas on this before we move on to the education series? I really think the compostable is a viable topic, so hopefully we'll have some good information to report back to. Education series, reading the previous minutes, I see that Michael was going to look for somebody to speak for October. Was that true?
As far as I know.
That's what it said in the minutes, so I was just.
That's what he said.
Okay, so if Michael doesn't remember, he's been nominated to find somebody for October, should we wish to do an October meeting. My thought was that we have another session in November and maybe not have one in December.
I think that's what we talked about last
Comments
time.
from the bar, yeah. So I had an idea, since Charity, who unfortunately is not here, so let's volunteer her to do this. Since she's at Rosemont Middle School and she's working on the green teams and she's working with SAGE. I don't know if any of you know about SAGE, and they're working with the Eco School Network to do green teams in schools, which is a really cool program. And my thought was, it would be nice to get more people involved in our education series, which I was pleased to see that a quorum of our members appeared Tuesday for Alex's very depressing discussion.
Yeah.
I was thoroughly bummed after that. So anyway, here's my idea for a November thing to involve children and their parental units. What if we said, okay, let's get 10 kids, and this is in middle school, 10 kids, and have them answer a question, give them, say, 5 minutes each, and they would be our seminar, they would be our presentation, have them 5 minutes each, maybe 10 kids, and I'm just throwing this out as an idea, to answer a question, what concerns you the most about the issue of climate change, and what would you do to address it? And see what the kids say. Without parental influence, no parents could attend, but this has to be from the mouths of babes. Often comes razor blades, often known as gyms. But I would love to see something from the kids. And somebody mentioned getting kids. I think Mary in the last minutes mentioned kids at our booth. But I think getting kids involved, if we get kids involved in a seminar, guess who they're going to bring along? Their parents are going to want to see their kids. So we're going to have all these people in our seminar. I would just love to see what the youth have to say about this. That's my idea for November. Go for it. Silence befell the bar room.
Oh no, I'm just
Anyway.
remembering something my father taught me, which is you want to make change, you talk to the children.
Exactly
And
right.
They care a
Unencumbered by
lot.
social graces. Yep. So anyway, that's my thought for November. I would be happy to speak with Charity about it if you guys think would be something interesting to pursue. I would love to hear what kids have to say, because that's the future right there, folks. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the idea a lot, and I've seen some really wonderful presentations with students. I think a lot of it depends upon the age.
Yeah.
I think I would be inclined to go with middle school or older.
Yeah.
Because there's just so much research about climate anxiety that is now really becoming very problematic with kids. And so I would just be anxious myself about enhancing climate anxiety as a result of having a presentation like that. So I think it would just require teachers who are able to really work effectively with the kids before and after, in terms of really being careful about generating that anxiety.
Well, and sometimes, as we all know, pain and anxiety and suffering, in order to get beyond it, have to be relived.
Well,
And
there's something
That's
else.
true, but it's one thing with little kids to do it.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
also,
Yeah.
rather than to make it traumatic, I'm not saying make it traumatic. This could be a class exercise, an assignment that the school could use to get the kids to learn something. You know, I've done this before when I taught. You know, give the student, just give them a question, give them a project. How would you do this? And let them work on it. Let them explore. Learn by doing. You know, just in time learning. There's a whole bunch of things could be done around this project that could lead to alleviating anxiety by finding out stuff, because we only fear what we don't know. And the more you learn, the more you realize, oh, that's how that works. Oh, or this is how we could do that. I see this as a great learning experience. It could be a whole semester's worth of learning for kids. You know, you could go with it for a whole school year in classes.
I know schools that have done that. It's just that the situation is becoming so much more extreme at the moment that it really is an issue.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean,
Can I say something?
no.
Thinking about what you had to say about the documented anxiety among young people, if the focus were not on what scares you, but what questions do you have,
Mhm.
and also what would you like to see done, that's not focusing on their anxiety, but on progress.
Mhm.
So that might be a way to focus it.
Well, see, yeah, exactly. And my question ended with, I think, hope. What could you do about it?
Right. I'd like to, instead of ending the question with that,
Yeah.
focus on that.
How can we help to alleviate this?
Yeah.
What can we do? You know, kids and young people are a great untapped resource of ideas. And unfortunately, our school system doesn't allow kids to express their ideas. It squashes their ideas. And things like this will open kids up to exploration. And that's what it's all about. You know, you can't protect kids from everything. And I really think the more we can get kids into this, that's our future. So anyway, I don't want to rave on about this. We only got a few minutes. Sorry to rant, but as an educator,
Well, I think it would help, and I work in healthcare regarding anxiety and whatnot. I think sometimes a lot of that stems from a sense of a loss of control. So by throwing out that question about what can you do, or to think about that, I think that can kind of help with that anxiety piece, just to feel like they have a sense of control, that there's something they can perhaps do individually, whether it be conservation, et cetera. It may help mitigate some of that anxiety.
okay.
So it sounds like I'm hearing everybody's good with having kids. Like this could be really engaging, and that we need to be very thoughtful in our questions and approach. And Charity's not here, so that's what happens when you're gone. You get volunteered for something. And then I'll tap into that, right? This is how we motivate attendance, right? And to tap into those resources. And Greg, you had some input on that too, if you're interested in helping lay that groundwork. So if I think this could be really productive. We do not need anybody walking away going, oh my gosh, because you're right. That sense of what can I do? And even when Alex was doing the thing the other night with the recycling, there's not a lot you can do on this big global scale. There is,
Mm-hmm.
so it's like, oh my gosh, okay, here's what I can do. So if they can have some guidance in that, but we definitely have to be thoughtful. You're all absolutely right. You have to be thoughtful in the questions so that they're focused on their creativity and not, oh my gosh.
Okay, since I opened this can of worms, I will be happy to chat with Charity and tell her, what we talked about, and see if she even thinks it's a viable thing to pursue in the first place. And if so, how? And then I will get back to you. And if everybody says, no, we don't want that to happen, well, we can think of something else. Anybody have backup ideas of a November presentation?
Can I make one more comment on this one? Which is that if the children themselves have a say in whether they feel that this will be something useful they can do to do this presentation, that itself is positive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, we don't want to generate anxiety. We want to generate interest and enthusiasm and hope. Yeah. Okay. So, as I say, before we move on, the last couple of things, think of any other ideas for a possible November subject if this one falls through, and we'll work on it. Okay. Any other things before we go on to updates and our last item as far as?
We got to volunteer Mike for something too, just to be fair to Charity.
Well, hopefully he's on taps to do the October session. He's still there. Okay, we're not going to let him off the hook on that one. Okay, great. All right, staff liaison update. Well, what do we got, Jerry? I know you're leaving. Oh, by the way, Jerry, really appreciate your support and enthusiasm. You've been a good advocate for us. It's really been great. I'm just wondering, are you going to stay here? Are you moving back to Indiana, or what's the plan?
I don't know yet.
Oh, okay.
It won't be Indiana. I'm from Chicago.
How about Gladstone?
Next door, right? I don't know yet, but I'll figure that out.
Okay.
What I'm actually trying to figure out as it relates to the SAB is who the new staff liaison will be. I don't necessarily want to bequeath something to someone and then not be around for what happens to it afterward, but we will find a new staff liaison and work on that. And as we're sitting here, I'm thinking I might ask Ken Warner to just come to the next meeting to talk about trees if we're going to go deep on tree issues. So we will go from there. I thought this is not a staff update by any means, but Alex's presentation on Tuesday was wonderful. I know it was depressing, but I mean, that's what was great about it, right? And he and I have had some conversations offline about just reducing carbon footprints, and he came equipped to talk about it. So I thought that was great.
Yeah. Alex doesn't pull any punches. I wrote him an email afterwards that says, "Thanks for exposing the inconvenient truth to us again."
But that's all I have for tonight. I don't think there's any other updates. Kim talked about what happened this morning, and Kim, like, what was I going to say? Alex said it all. So I thought he did a great job there too. So.
But you gave the perspective from the city, and I think that was really useful. And that was one of the things of being a leader in sustainability is you're able to model that to the community and how it was to navigate that. So, it's way different going through it than reading the brochure.
Yeah, that's very true.
Jerry, I got one question. What's the status of the city's efforts to replace Brent Cruz?
Great question. So the position is housed within admin, and we are looking at budget shortfalls. So it's a position that I've abstained from filling because of that anticipated budget shortfall. We'll say that we had a meeting today with Lake Oswego to plan an emergency exercise, a tabletop exercise. So we keep the emergency management work moving forward. But adding a position when we have a budget shortfall and me leaving was not something I wanted to move forward on. So it'll be the question for the next city manager. I think I've expressed to this group before, Brenna said that she left to take on more emergency management work. Mm-hmm. There's more to do at the county. There's more people, there's more land. Totally understand that. I had a little bit of anxiety about the creation of that position. I'm grateful for the work that she did, and I always sort of envisioned that she'd started emergency management and then morph into more sustainability and resilience work. And I think there's lots of opportunity there. But I don't know if the next city manager will share that vision. It is something that, we've had a conversation with Lake Oswego about maybe splitting a position. We share LOCOM, we share other resources together. I don't know if it would work. We don't share a fire department. We have TVFNR and they have their own fire department. So there's a little bit of complication there, but so that's the long version. The short version is there are no plans to replace that position at this time.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Great. Well,
one more question before we close. What's the status, unless you said it earlier, what's the status on council adding the tree code update to the docket? Was that, or do we have?
I just have to go over that with council, and Mary will do that on Tuesday.
okay, good. And let us know if we have to submit anything official again as far as the proposal. So
I don't know that you do, but I will follow up. And I think that portion, the portion of the meeting last month where the SAB decided that, I just missed. I had internet issues, but it was something that moved forward unanimously, right? I think.
Mm-hmm.
okay, very good. Well, thanks, Jerry. So you're here, Jerry, until what, July 31st?
August 31st.
Oh, August 31st. Okay, great. So we'll see you at the next meeting for sure then. I hope.
Maybe.
Okay. Last item on the agenda that I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting was the fact that I'm stepping down as co-chair. My last meeting is co-chair right now. We have had, it's up to an advisory group as to whether they want to have a chair or co-chairs. And several years ago, our group elected to have co-chairs. I think it's worked out very well because it's a backup like vice president. Somebody can fill in. The co-chair leads the meeting. The other person takes notes. I think it's worked out well. So number one, does the group wish to continue with co-chairs or not?
Yes.
Everybody feels that's a good option?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought would happen. So therefore, I would like to nominate Greg as our next co-chair. Any discussion?
I'm happy to have anybody else move into that.
Greg, is this a surprise?
We had a conversation earlier.
I don't want to
Okay.
monopolize it.
No, there's no monopoly involved. So, okay. So I've nominated Greg. Everybody agrees. Is there a second?
I second that.
Okay. So any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of having Greg step in as co-chair for the S?
Discussion. I thought Victoria has a puzzled look on her face, even though it's dark.
Yeah, it's
That's
it's
his normal
I'm
look.
in Brooklyn.
Oh, okay. That's okay.
You're in
That's
Brooklyn?
I'm in
yes.
Brooklyn.
That's why she is in the dark. Okay.
Yeah.
So
It's
all
dark
in
here.
favor of having Greg step in as co-chair in my stead, raise your hands. Okay, looks great. Greg, you're in. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
That's great.